All right, let's go over what we're gonna do today. I have these glass bottles that are AI, and we're gonna render some labels over them to have a sample of a product. I have the original label actually is in Illustrator, which is this, and there's four of them. Then I took them out to Photoshop and I cropped them to a certain height that I know I'm gonna use to wrap around the image of the bottle. This is gonna be used to replace this product image on the site. Yes, I know real photos are better and whatnot, but in this case, we need to get these products up until we have time to actually shoot proper photos, so we are going to render them in the meantime. And I know that there's different ways to skin this cat, and some guys do it with 3D and whatnot, but I don't do this super often, so I just do it in Illustrator and Photoshop, and it does the trick, at least to do samples for products so that the customer has an idea of what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna go ahead and hold on, bear with me for a second because I don't need that guide. And then I left these guys there because I want to use that one is the upper part of the label, and this is gonna be the lower part, but the bottom part has a curve, so it's gonna be straight dead on to the lens, and the bottom will have a curve to more or less match this one. Now the old stripe, I mean the old rendering is this, and yeah, I did some manual shading to give it some shape and added some noise, and I might have to redo these, but I'm gonna try and reuse them again. But there's a couple problems with this one. First, I had to crop from the top a little bit because it was over this curve, and we can't have that. But I'm just gonna have this one in order to compare and see how much better or worse my new rendering is. And I'm also gonna do an action so that we can recreate it for the other labels because we got four that we gotta do. So I'm gonna go ahead and in fact I'm gonna lay, before we do that, I'm gonna put this one back in the middle just to have a guide that I can look over. Nope, not that. And then I'm gonna record the action when I'm ready to start, which is gonna be now. So record, and we're gonna do this with warp. And again, like I said, some of you guys in the comments are gonna be like, oh, you can do it with 3D, it's gonna be so much better, or you can do it this other way. Yeah, I'm sure there's many ways of doing this, but guess what? I have the job and I have to complete it, so I'm gonna do it the way I know how to do it because I'm old school, right? All right, so now one thing I do is I go just a little bit outside of the bottle so that it doesn't look like it's shrunk. So it looks like it's actually, at least gives the label some thickness. Okay. And then I'm going to straighten these guys out. I might have to straighten them some more, but there, that one's too far in. Okay. I'm going to do this one. Should have put guides on that side to help it be more straight, but that's fine. I can just eyeball it. That's pretty good. Here's a little bloated. Yep, there you go. And this inside one, oh, see, because there's a curve there on the bottom. That's not good. I'm gonna have to, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fix the bottle because I don't want it to be that high. Plus, I gotta go up to the top, so it probably should be fine. Okay, so we got that. Let me go ahead in this case, and so now it's all flat. So I gotta move these out a little bit so that the curve shows these edges, the sides, being of course more shrunk than the center part of the design. The important bit is that when you do this, then you have to have straight lines, which I do by eye. It takes some work. But I eventually end up with straight lines. Keep in mind, I didn't rehearse this, so I am doing it as I go. All right. almost there. In the end, I'm going to have to double check with guides. It's just that because I'm recording, I don't want to go and put guides on here. I don't want it to record stuff that I'm not wanting to save in the action. You can see these two handles are very close to each other, so that's kind of a good sign. You're gonna have to go a little straighter there. I might actually crop the top so it's perfectly straight, because that's the effect I'm going for there. Now these sides I'm gonna raise them to give it the curve of the bottom of the bottle. It's gonna be similar to this more or less. And again, this really isn't. I'm just trying to get as close as possible because at the end, this will eventually get proper photography. But for now, we just want to have a decent rendering of our design. We're very close. Bear with me here. That looks pretty straight. This one is still not quite there. That one's not quite there. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter, so it saves that. And at this point, I'm gonna stop the action because with this, I'm gonna make the other ones as long as it looks the way I want it. So let me go ahead and hide the guys for a second so I can just look at it. I'm gonna compare that to my old one. The new one has more space, which is good. I was going for that. And yes, I think that's actually pretty acceptable. So now, before we do anything else, I'm gonna run the action for the next couple of ones. And now I have a backup of each of those. The reason I have a backup is in case I screw up, I can always start over without having to go to a backup of the actual file itself. I have it within the file. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run that action for this one, and it should just immediately convert. So play, there it is. I'm gonna run it for that one. There it is. And I'm gonna run it for this one. There it is. And now I save, and I'm going to go ahead and look at what our lighting that I had previously done, how that looks. Okay. Now, of course, we're gonna have this problem that the lighting doesn't perfectly match what our label is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stretch these out a little bit so I can crop them. And I'm actually going to just ever so slightly go bigger so that when it crops, it stays with the edge. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna select inverse, and then I'm gonna delete the outer parts of these guys, deselect, and now our lighting should match our label. Okay, perfect. And now the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of grain, basically noise, to the label, just to make it look a little bit more natural, like if it were an actual photograph. I'm gonna do it with noise, at noise, and then I'm kind of, let me see how 2 looks. That might be okay. Yeah, let's do 2 Gaussian monochromatic, and then we're gonna give it that same action to each of these. So add noise, that's already preset, and add noise to that one, and then lastly add noise to this one. Okay, and now I'm gonna get rid of this because we're not gonna need it anymore, and bring my highlights and shadows back on. And there we go. So let's take a look at another one. The ceramic coating, the glass coating, the graphene coating, and the interior ceramic coating. Now, of course, you're not gonna fool anybody thinking that these are real photos. No, but you can give the customer a very good idea of what the product looks like. And I'm talking about the customer as in your client, but also if you need to put it in a shop while you get proper photos done. A lot of people are used to seeing computer generated images, so it's not like necessarily gonna be something adverse, even though of course having real images is the better approach when you are able to get to that point.